How was it all going famously?
To be in it and to see that moving alpine landscape, because that's what it resembled for me, was valleys and mountains, but all on the move. Tumbling crests and almost like glaciers coming down the faces of the big waves, and the surfing we got when we were really like chugging along. That's something that will stay with me forever. I don't think I could ever repeat that. It was absolutely breathtaking. We were doing so well. We maybe even thought that, you know, we could get a podium in Tauranga. So yeah, it came as a bit of a blow and probably left us feeling like we'd been robbed of the opportunity.
Okay, the steering failed at the time. I was on the helm, and all seemed fine. We'd shaken out the reef, we had the full main, and almost without warning, I felt the back of the boat stern pick up on a wave, just build and build, and I had to pull the helm hard over to try and control the boat's direction and prevent her broaching up into the wind. And as I loaded up the pressure on the helm, suddenly I felt no pressure at all, and very gracefully the boat just rounded up into wind, and the rest, well, we were then left to pick up the pieces and work out what the problem was.
That'll do.
It's very sad. Not saying this is definitely the end of this race for us. The way we have to accept the result we're going to get, whether we continue, whether we are able to get this sorted and carry on or not, it's not going to be the result we necessarily deserved in getting.
Well, immediately after the steering went, our first priority was to start heading north or northeast, primarily to get away from the weather systems into lighter winds where we have better control over the steering. Then assess the situation and see if we can get the steering repaired and fixed and back on track. Okay, so if we're unable to fix the steering, then we have three options we're looking at. The closest, Adelaide, is about 3 days away. That's probably the safest option, the least amount of time spent on auto helm. Disadvantage is it's a slightly longer course for us, and will get us into Tauranga a few days later. Second option we're looking at is Melbourne, which will be about 4.5 days on secondary steering, harder work on the crew, but we'd get to Tauranga a lot quicker, and it's probably the quickest route. The third option we're looking at is to keep south round Tasmania and into Hobart, which would also be probably about the same distance and the same time to get us into Tauranga. So those are the three options we're assessing at the moment. We're watching the weather closely for each of those options because of the fresh low pressure that's coming in and the impact that could have on the sea state going into either Melbourne or around Tasmania into Hobart.